Once upon a time, two boys grew up playing hockey in the village of Terrace, British Columbia. One of them went on to play in the National Hockey League. The other became a comedian. Now, one flies planes and coaches youth hockey. The other is still a comedian and owns newsstands. This is their podcast, Enjoying Orange Slices with Jeff and Ian.
Hello, Jeff. My name's Ian Bagg. The show is called Enjoying Orange Slices with Jeff and Ian, and sometimes Millard. And today's that day where we don't have Millard. How are you?
I don't know. I think you said, how you doing? I'm good. Yeah, Mallard.
How are you? How are you?
I'm good. I'm real good. Been busy. We've been away a little bit. Yeah,
Imagine
I know.
that.
Not as busy as you maybe, but I'm busy. Maybe as other people. But I will say this. With Mallard, he's a big shooter. He sent a picture the other day of him in first class going down to the rookie camp down in Los Angeles with the Golden Knights, being a bragger, showing off. So he's probably big time in it. So maybe we won't see him for a while. But the good news is with that picture means rookie camp's going. Main camp starts this week, and we're going to be off to the races. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, everything's coming together quite nicely. Yeah. It's the beginning of hockey season. Football's in the second week. Baseball's coming up to the end. It's actually a good time of year for sports.
Really good. Golf just had their championship. They're still kicking around in Napa last weekend. I always like to watch a little bit of what's going on in Napa. But baseball finally, getting exciting. And people like the playoffs.
Baseball finally getting exciting. Oh my God.
I used to watch a lot of baseball, and it's a great game, but they lost me, and I'm trying to come back. I love the fact that they sped it up. We talk about that all the time with hockey, how they just can't have 3.5 hour hockey games, and baseball, they need to keep going. But the playoffs in any sport are always fun. So baseball's just around the corner.
Yeah, they probably need to break up the season a couple times with some things, maybe some playoff runs, some sort of tournament throughout the season, to make, as it is such a long season. I think people get lost in it. Whereas, European soccer, they have all those kind of like weird championships, that's what makes it exciting. So,
well, yeah, they kind of keep you going. And the thing is about soccer, you never really know where it starts and where it ends. It just kind of keeps going. And they kind of keep you, I always loved the Champions League. I thought that was always really cool. The Premier League, I do love watching the Premier League over the holidays, over in December, over the Christmas break. I don't know what it is about watching them, but I love it. And so, but soccer, they kind of keep you going year round. And of course, the MLS going with Messi in Miami. So I don't know, but you're right with baseball, like 162 games is a long time to watch, but I was in San Diego the other night. We stayed across from the stadium, and the stadium was just teeming with people excited watching the Padres. So I was like, hey, 82 home games, that's a lot of games. But
I was San Diego for you this time. Any sort of police chase this time?
Nothing. No, nothing. No, nothing of note to report on that this week in California. Southern California loves their police chases. I didn't see anything this week when
I was involved in one in Florida. But yeah. West Palm. West Palm's been busy for police chases lately. Thank God I wasn't in the important one. But there was a car accident in front of us, right? When you're just about at the car accident and you're slowed down by a couple, and then you get to the front as the fire truck's showing up, right? And then all of a sudden they stop me as I'm about to go through, and two cops start chasing on foot a guy down the street. Like down the I-95, right? They start chasing him. I was like, oh, this is interesting. I'm going to be late for the show, but this is interesting, right? So they get him and bring him back, and then they let us go. I get like, I don't know, 100 feet down the road. I'm the first car. There's a guy hiding in between the freeways in a neon shirt. He's hiding. I'm like, oh, that ain't gonna last, right?
Yeah.
So I call, but he's in the middle. He's in the middle, so he's got to get across at some point to get away. And I'm like, this isn't going to end well. So I let them know. I called the 911, said, Ian Baggs, concerned citizen.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, they're like, hey, can you give us your address? No,
Nope.
I can't. No, I'm unable. I gotta move. We got between dogs getting ready to bark here and everything else. I'm moving today. I'm moving. Hang on.
Hold on.
It's happening live. It's live and interactive. I
Oh,
gotta
you're
get
in a
to
room
another
that has
part
a
of the
lot of
house.
sun coming out of the right.
Oh, there we go. I just did it. Okay, everything's
Good moves.
quiet again. Oh, look at that. Yeah, you can see it. It's just beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful day in Las Vegas. So I should do the weather report.
How
Light and
is
variable winds, light and variable
how
today, high of 83, which is much cooler for us. And
Mhm.
yeah, everybody's thrilled. So, anyways, back to the 7-day forecast later on, but back to the car chase. So here's the thing. When you run in, when you get a car chase where there's houses around, there's lots of places to run to. But when you're running down I-95, your
It's
chances
not
are
good.
like your long-term chances of that being a successful outcome for you, it probably not very good.
You're not getting away. And you know exactly where I was. Exit 70 and exit 69 is where the West Palm Beach airport is. So I was right there. So you probably, when you fly into that airport, you probably stay right around there too.
Probably saw you, probably just flew over you, saw you down there, screwing up traffic.
Screwing
What
up
made you
traffic.
think that you should be the first car? Like, why did you didn't want to let
I
anyone else go by you? Or you're like, we got to go to the show.
I had no idea how I got it. I was just like, this is fantastic. I've never been the first car. Just like,
Hey, like a kid from Terrace, like
yeah,
you probably were on CNN or something where they were doing the live footage of the chase. That they're like, hey, is that Ian?
picking his nose as
Is
he's
that Lord
driving.
Bagg down there
Uh,
checking
I
out?
should have bought a lottery ticket right afterwards because that was a big win. By the way, did you buy any lottery tickets on when it was up to 800?
No, and I screwed up because Randy was coming across the country, and I
Oh, he
talked
needs
to
a
him a
win.
couple times, and I said to him last night when I saw him, I go, "Well, I screwed up." I said, "I forgot to tell you to buy a lottery ticket when you're coming across the country, because there's only a couple states you can't buy a lottery ticket in, and of
Yeah.
course Nevada's one of them, because we don't like gambling of any sort here."
Yeah, you guys keep it on the 100. Hey,
Yeah,
did
we'll
you
keep
know
it.
that remember a couple of months ago, $1.1 billion somebody won that? Nobody's
Mhm.
picked it up. It's been 6 months and nobody's picked up that ticket yet. And they've only got 6 months left, and it goes back in. I wonder
You
if
know what I found a lot of times when I was in LA, I'd always come down and see the big show, the Bagg residence.
Eee,
I would usually there's a place right by the airport. Um, it's right beside the budget rent a car. People have been in LA. There's a little corner
budget.
store there. Those guys are so awesome. And I'd always buy my ticket there, and then I'd hear, oh, the winner's in Southern California. I'm like, hey, I've got a chance. And then it would always like be Pasadena. Like,
That's
come on,
funny.
come on.
Yeah. Carrie
So
Ann had me drive around and go into the hood. She goes, "This is where it always wins in here." So I'm like, "Oh, we're gonna take a bullet. We're gonna take a bullet trying to get seven. What we bought $50 worth of tickets for her and her friends." I'm like, "Oh my God." I'm like, "Okay, all right."
yeah,
That's only 25 tickets,
hey,
by the
do
way.
you
It's
think
up to
more people are playing now? Like, why is I mean, the numbers don't come up, they don't come up, but do you think more people are playing? Like these jackpots get driven up so quickly now.
I think
Like, I
there's
mean,
more states involved, like you were saying. I think there's more states, but also because the ticket went up to $2, I think that helped out a lot.
yeah, because it's like, hey, it's 500 million. Like before, it's funny, people turn their nose up. Oh, it's only 115 million this week.
I
There's
know
no
it's so
way we're
funny.
playing that. There's no way. Not a hope.
$8 million is not going to change my life.
Yeah, I don't want it. No way. I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait till it's 1.8 billion. But that's good. It's good. So you were down in Florida. How's
Yeah,
all our peeps down there? Hey, how is the weather down there? It's kind of been kind of a
hot,
lousy summer and a lot
hot,
of rain.
a lot of rain. Like that's why that accident happened because of the rain. So it gets so hot and then it just like boosh. It was fat. We did Tampa and we did West Palm for 2 nights, and the weather was hot in both. The air conditioning in the first night was horrific. like just bad. And there's nothing worse than bad air conditioning in a venue. You're hot, they're hot, everybody's kind of a little bit, it's just a little bit different. So,
Yeah.
but it was fun, but I just sweat dripping off my elbow as I'm about to wrap it up. I'm like, I gotta get out of here. So it was fun though.
John was
But
already back at the hotel. He's like, I'm
yeah,
out of here.
John's lying on a piece of ice. Um, I did see an old teammate of yours, Alan May. Yeah.
Amazing. Right on.
Where'd you
Good
play with
guy.
him at? Where'd you play with
So
him?
I played with him in Utah when we won the Turner Cup, and really good player. Played in Washington for a lot of years. And of course, he still does in Washington, or was doing. I don't know if he's doing
Yeah,
it
he
this
does.
year.
He still does it. Yeah.
Yeah. So Maisie's on their pregame, postgame, and intermission reports. Does a really good job. And could kind of see when I played with him, he was kind of destined for something like that.
Didn't
Of
he
course,
coach for a while though too?
I don't know if he coached, but he was always a kind of guy. I could see him getting into the broadcasting side of it because he followed the game. He knew the game well. I really like playing with him. He's a hell of a player, and you're kind of gritty, grinding forward and right-handed shot, hard to play against, and good guy. So if you ever watch the Washington broadcasts, he's on. Great hair still, right? Still got the great
Yeah,
hair.
good. Yeah, he looks young, good looking
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
But he's with a company down there called Lifeguard Imaging, and he invited John and me. John and I, we went and got body scans. Have you ever heard of them?
Not before you told me about them.
That's right. So body scan is
Why don't you tell me some more?
but they do little slices of you. So, but I want to tell you because I'm like, oh, that sounds fantastic. I'm never gonna die. Everything's gonna be okay. And then as you're sitting in to go into the thing, you're like, oh my God, tell my mom I love her. I don't think I'm coming out of this thing.
Yeah. You know what? You have these appointments, like you go in for an appointment or even drawing blood, you're like, and then you sit in the chair, you're like, oh my God, my whole life can change. But you know what the good, like, what am I doing? But if you don't do it, then you don't know. So
Yeah.
good. How did it turn out? I guess you're still here. So I'm
I'm
assuming it
done.
went okay.
No, this is our last episode.
It's not because your scan came back.
Yeah, I forgot it. They just told me in the thing, you guys shouldn't do the podcast.
Hey, everything checked out okay. Stop doing podcasts. Radiologist report on the bottom. Stop the podcast.
Stop the podcast. My favorite part was as I'm going in, I just like look at the guy, go, "Are you guys going to be able to see my poop?" I should have went before I came here.
Exactly.
I love it. But what we were talking about, the season starting. When you played with him, you guys were in the IHL, right?
Yeah.
So when were you guys starting to like train for the preseason? When were you guys at that time? This is like 96.
96 is when we won the Turner Cup in Utah. So back then, well, if you go back then, you're probably in August, but in training throughout the summer, but on the ice. But even years before that, guys were getting on the ice in September, like a week before camp. Some of the pros would do it, but back then, probably, some guys were different. They might have played in a summer league or something, but nothing like today.
You were also going to NHL camps at that time too, right? You weren't just going to the IHL camp.
Right. But yeah, some guys, but I'll tell you what, if you're a guy that can't get to an NHL camp, but you're going to a minor league, it's tough to find ice now because everybody's gone, right? And your training camp doesn't start until after all the NHL camps, start to disperse people. There's junior teams that are going. So if
that might be a good business right there.
What's that?
That might be a good business, putting like just that 2 weeks, that 2 week period where guys are gone, just putting together like camps in certain cities.
Yeah, well, that's the whole thing we talked about before, right? Logistics is one thing and cost is another, because the guys that are kind of sitting training on their own right now, they're not making mega bucks. So that's that. I mean, I love the idea, and I'm sure in the bigger centers you can go find good skates still. Like, you know, the university guys are probably getting going, like in Canada and in the States, those guys are already back in school. But yeah, you'd have to find a place, you know, you'd probably have to go to a bigger center, I'm guessing. Oh, and or if there's a junior team, and you can get on and practice with them. That's always good because those kids are flying around because all the junior teams are going right now. Their draft picks are in the NHL rookie camps, which is to end yesterday or today, which is Tuesday. And then tomorrow, Wednesday, is media day in the NHL. And then Thursday, all the camps start. So then you have another 10 days to 2 weeks. If you're going to an American League camp, say a week, you know, 10 days from now, you got to find some ice before, you know, you go to your camp. So I'm sure, like in Vegas, some of the guys are coming in just to play with the Henderson Silver Knights. They can find ice in town. It's just a matter of, you know, running a high tempo skate so you're ready to go when you know, when the minor pro guys get going and they start returning to their teams.
Right.
It's not
Speaking of,
easy.
it's not
And you
easy.
know, well, and you know, Wedgwood talked about it when he was on, but we had him on before his moving debacle there. But Scott said,
Debacle.
you know, he'd been on the ice, but if you get towards the end of August, like I always found, and this is years ago, you know, I'm kind of like the Happy Gilmore of hockey. I think I still do it, but I mean, even me towards the end of August and start of September, I'm like, you know, I still to this day think, oh, the hockey season's getting ready to start. Well, guess what, Jeff? You don't play hockey anymore, so you don't have to worry
It's
about
so
it.
funny.
But I can
You
still
start changing your diet at the end of
yeah,
August.
I did like 2 sit-ups, a couple push-ups if I could, but then I hurt my shoulder, so I'm like, oh, only one. But yeah, the I really think that guys really start to get antsy and they're kind of their summer is over. Like if they're in the city of the NHL team, that's totally different. But if you're coming down from, say, like a Kelowna, or you spent the summer somewhere in Colorado or Michigan
Yeah.
skating with those guys, you feel pretty good about where you are, but you're getting antsy. If you have kids, they got to get into school. And so I think summer kind of ends for most NHL guys, probably the last week of August, where they start being, okay, we really got to focus. They're getting a little antsy for the season. Well, and then camp, what starts on the 8th? Today's the 17th. So the camp starts on the 19th in 2 days. Camp used to start right around just after the long weekend in September. So the NHL season to me it's starting too late, and I get it. They don't want to go up against high school football. They don't really want to go head to head all year with the NFL, but they need to start, I think, a week earlier, and they need to finish at least. I mean, what did we play the finals last year? Was it the 25th of June? So
Yeah,
we need to
something
get
ridiculous.
done at least 2 weeks earlier than that. I don't know where they're
Yeah.
going to find that space, but they need to compress it a bit, and we'll see. We'll see. What do we got? The Four Nations in February this year, and then the Olympics next year. So I don't see it happening in the next couple of years, but they got to find a way to compress it a little bit going forward.
The Four Nations tournament's happening up the NAS. Oh my God.
Hey, you know what? It's funny. I was thinking about the NAS this morning, and I don't know why, but I was like, I was thinking about
NAS camp.
Kitwanga, the NAS, and like Prince Rupert, and I just was like, man, I mean, what a great time of year to be up there. And
Yeah,
so
she is
Meg and
pretty
Tyler
gorgeous.
are up. Meg and Tyler are up there right now. They're up in Terrace. So
Are they?
yeah, so
That's nice.
yeah, that's kind of cool. So it's a great time of year to be up in the Pacific Northwest of British Columbia. So that's funny you said the NAS.
The NAS camp. Hey, you sent me an article today about a young man that's playing in the WHL and has signed with ASU. Is it
Braxton Whitehead.
But is it the Sun Devils?
Yeah,
Who's he?
ASU, yeah. Well, we might not want to Arizona State University, right? So we got we got the Sun Devils. I'm not sure if that's them or not. We should be up on our
We
college.
should probably, but
We're
we
sorry,
always
guys.
get
We're
something wrong. So there it
apologizing.
is.
Hey, we just threw it out to you. Like, figure it out. Like,
Yeah.
you know, that's a fact check for someone else, not for
Yeah.
us. But
Show us your work.
yeah, exactly. Let us know. We know, we're just pretending like we don't. But I love it because this kid's
Explain to people what's going on.
okay. So what happened is years and years ago, you could play junior B hockey in the United States or Canada. You could play junior A tier 2 hockey in the United States or Canada and go play for the NCAA. You can go play for Michigan, Denver, UND, all those big schools. You could go play for them. If you played in the WHL, the OHL, or the Quebec and Maritime Major Junior Hockey League, which I played in WHL, you were ineligible for the NCAA, which is totally garbage because they said you got paid. I think we made like, I don't even know, $100 every 2 weeks or something. It was basically a per diem, right?
Right.
So you don't make anything. So what happened is we had a whole bunch of kids, American and Canadian kids, probably mostly Canadian, that were ineligible for the NCAA because, like me, I played 4 years in the Western Hockey League. I happened to go on and play pro, but not everybody does that. And even, let's just say your first year in the Western Hockey League or Ontario League, you really didn't like it. Well, you were screwed, for lack of a better term. You had no option to go play for the NCAA, which would have been any of the US schools. You could play in Canada, right? You can play for those schools after you, but you can't play for the other ones. So, anyways, Braxton Whitehead, and there's another young man out in the Ontario League that has also filed basically a class action lawsuit against NCAA saying, hey, you're paying your players the nil money. You want to give everybody what nil stands for?
Not enough leagues. I don't know. No, what is it? What is it?
Nil. I don't know. Someone told me not long ago.
It's the Jim Nil. It's the Jim Nil. You gotta play. You gotta come play for Dallas if you play.
Yeah, it's Jim Nil less one L because Miller's 2 L's. But so, anyways, like Shadir Sanders is making like 3 or 4 million playing for the University of Colorado as a quarterback. His dad, prime time, right, is coach.
Right.
So that's a different sport. But in some of the university kids now are making $15,000 to $20,000 or whatever they're making.
They're making money.
They're making money, and the WHL kids are saying, "Well, hang on a second." So Braxton Whitehead, he signed with ASU, and he's eligible for next year. And he's like, "Hey, can't wait to see everybody in training camp." But
that's awesome.
He's coming out as a 20-year-old, and he's going to go play in school. And I don't know if the NCAA, like some of the junior games are really, really good hockey, but there's the NCAA and the top rung of it is really, really good hockey. So some of these kids, if junior's not for them, I think it's going to get changed over. So you're just going to be able to, cut and paste. If it's not working for you there, the NCAA kids could probably come and play major junior as well. But I think it's going to be really good for development of some late bloomers. And hey, how about this? How about getting an education along the way? What a great idea too, right? So I know now, and in fairness to the WHL, because that's my peeps, and the Ontario League and the Quebec and Maritime League, if you play 3 or 4 years and you don't go on to play pro, they pay for your schooling afterwards. But I just think it's just nonsense that the NCAA has basically held these kids out for years. A lot of them would make the NCAA hockey better and be able to further their education. So
here it is. I'm going to throw it out there. Would you have moved on to the NCAA?
I kind of, when I think about it, I'm so happy for these kids that I think the tide's going to turn for them. I never understood it. I would love to have. I don't know if it would have affected me the same way it affects a lot of other kids. But I mean, I was pretty lucky. I played in Kelowna and Portland. So, those were 2 really good cities. But yeah, to go play for ASU, this kid's,
by the way,
what an
going
opportunity.
to ASU.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think there's decades of players that got left to the side of the road that unfortunately probably could have furthered their career or their education. So now, better late than never. So good.
Yes, they are. They are the Sun Devils. They are the Sun Devils, and they play in an NHL arena, right?
That's right. They do. Hey, they're the only team that plays every game in an NHL arena. Like
I love
it. University of Boston, UMass, all those schools. Hey, so think of it this way. Now, all of a sudden, these schools got to love it because now but they got to expand their scouting departments. They got to start going in and scouting all these major junior leagues in Canada, and of
Bet you that'd
course
be a
there's
good
teams in the
job being a
States too.
scout for a college, man. I bet you that'd be a really
That'd be so great.
sweet job. Oh,
But you know what? In fairness, scouting is not got a lot of vanity to it. Like you're putting 150,000 miles on your truck a year, driving around. You know, it's pretty lonely existence for a lot of people. But the people that are
sure
really
is.
good at it, man, they've made some teams in the NHL so much better because of their sacrifice, right? So we all got to do something. We can't win the mega bucks or mega millions or
And then not even pick it up.
649. Yeah. Lotto Max.
Lotto Max, and then not even pick it up. I won, but I don't need it.
Yeah, I know.
That's awesome.
It would just too much, you know, too much scrutiny. I'm going to leave that 1.1 billion just to sit there.
Yeah, I don't need that kind of pressure. Any signings before we go, any signings that you've liked, questioned, or been disgusted by?
Well, I'm never really disgusted by someone signing an NHL contract. Good for
that's
them and
interesting.
making a
Yeah.
good dollar, right?
Hey, what's
Because
do you get any money on a PTO?
that's a good question. I think the way they're doing the PTO, sometimes they'll do a PTO and like, hey, we got to move some contracts out and do this and that. You'll get like, I'm assuming, you know, they could have probably cut some deal on a PTO, but I don't believe so.
It
And
seemed
then,
like there was a lot this year.
well, what they'll do is that I guess what they'll do is that, hey, we're going to give you a player tryout, but this is what you're going to make if we keep you.
That's what, yeah. Here's what
So,
you'll,
I mean, the rules of engagement, it's not like, hey, we're going to keep you now, you know, here's your contract. Like I'll give Pacioretty's in Toronto this year on a PTO. He'll already know. And you know, it's interesting that they haven't signed him yet. There could be some things that they have to do. Like I'll give you an example. LTIR, everybody's favorite word, right? Long-term injury reserve. They might have to move some contracts onto the LTIR. Like but let's look at, you know, teams that we know, like Robin Leonard, probably in Vegas. He's not on LTIR right now, but he will be. Evander Kane in Edmonton has surgery. He's going to go on LTIR for the start of the season. That opens up a contract once that guy gets moved. So that, I believe, could have some bearing on it. But again, you know, I'm not well versed in the player tryout. You know,
I don't know if Toronto, with the Pacioretty, I don't know if they need another player that can't hit the net. Just I remember watching Pacioretty when we go to games in Vegas. I was just like, there's so many shots, but just always warming the boards up.
Yeah, well, you know, he's been around a long time. He's had some injury issues, which is going to be a big thing for Max to overcome
Vision.
this year.
We didn't know about his vision.
Yeah, and the guy shoots the puck a ton, and he's a big body. He does shoot it a ton, but you know, I'm really interested to see how he does because, you know, he did really well in Vegas in the last couple of years. He's had some injuries in Washington and in Carolina.
Achilles, right?
Achilles. So he's had a couple of injuries, but now he's going into like he's under a microscope. He's in the fishbowl in Toronto. He might have it might really, oh, that's the end of our show. My camera just went off. Okay, bye. He might really do well there because he played in Montreal and he did well in Montreal. And he's going in, and anything he does now is with the house's money. So you know what? I happen to know him a little bit, and his kids are great. And his family was when I met them when they were in Vegas, and they were very, very, very
Jeff,
good kids.
like I say,
there you go. So
just because he's a good person doesn't mean he's funny.
Yeah. Never said but I'm hoping he can get it back on. His kids are great. His wife was very kind.
You want everybody to do well, right? There's nobody you should root against.
I don't. And looking at other guys around the league, I don't really see anybody. I'm interested in some teams. Like I'm like, what's Calgary look like without Markstrom? Is Vladar and Wolf? Can they help? Because Calgary's getting dumped on, right? So can they get it going? Can the Rangers get over the hump? Can Tampa Bay kind of get some of their juice back? What's Nashville going to look like? And even, you know,
Nashville should be scary.
And I think New Jersey with Markstrom,
what's Vancouver like without Demko? Because good chance you're not going to see that guy for a while, because what they're saying is they can't fix him. He has to learn how to play with the pain. Oof.
Yeah, I
Oof.
don't like that one. I mean, I love Demko and really happy to see, but they got the right guy behind the bench there, Rick Tocchet.
Yeah.
So they're going to be. If you watch Vancouver play, the way they play, they have an identity that they just work, 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 work. I'm a little concerned about some of the stuff. I'm not really worried about their goalie as much as, just their defense. If their defense can shore it up, they're going to score. So that's the big thing to watch with Vancouver. I think if their D can play similarly to what they did last year, Vancouver will be in good spot.
I look forward to it. I also look forward to seeing what Edmonton does. Winnipeg should be very good again, but now they need to take another step after they get to the playoffs. Let's go over it. Let's go over these teams next week. Let's just wrap it up.
Okay, but hang on. We'll talk.
Oh,
Let's
no.
finish on the people we signed.
No.
Edmonton signing Leon, signing Draisaitl, home run, and so that almost guarantees that McDavid. I mean, it would be just crazy if McDavid left, but after this,
Wouldn't it be funny?
You just about with Leon staying there, and I think Edmonton is going to be right in the conversation
with those two there. With those two signed, right, it makes it a destination for people to want to go to, right? Doesn't.
And it makes it so much harder for Calgary. And you're like, well, they're Vegas and Seattle and Vancouver and LA and Anaheim Sharks. They're in the Pacific too. But I'm like, it makes it so hard on Calgary because they're just down the street, and Edmonton takes all of the oxygen out of the air up there, right? And so, and you're just looking, going, oh, that's great. I got to deal with Draisaitl for the next 8 years. And even if he falls off a bit, he's still going to be elite for at least 5 or 6. And then there's a guy. And Crosby. Congrats to Sid the Kid.
What'd you think of that signing? What'd you think?
I love it because it gives him the flexibility. There's two sides of it. He makes some good money, and it gives.
But he left a lot on the table.
Yeah, but it gives them the flexibility and him the flexibility to be able to move on to someone else if Pittsburgh goes flat over the next couple of years. And let's just say they go flat this year. I don't know. I don't see them moving them, but let's just say they went flat this year. Then he's got 2 more years left. They can maximize their return on him. Right. Even if they sign him and trade him, I'm assuming the goal is to keep him there for his career. But even if the bottom falls out in Pittsburgh, it's good for the player because he's making a good buck, but it's not so much they can't move him. And it's good for the team because they'll be able to recoup some good assets back for him. I hate using the word asset, but I can't think of a better one right now than that. So I love it.
I also like that they put him right on the street immediately and told him to go give some season tickets to people. You see that? Go knock on doors and hand them their season tickets. Put them in a jersey and a pair of jeans.
Yeah, he's done that before, and I don't know how to find a pair of jeans for him because he's built like a fire hydrant. But I love the guy, and
like fire hydrant.
He's
got no neck. He's got no neck.
Have you ever seen anyone try and take the puck off him? Like when he gets it going, he's a little bow-legged. I mean, he's a perfect power. Yeah, he's 5'11", but he's a perfect power forward for the NHL. He can't get near him. Can't get near him. So
if you were him, what team do you think you'd be looking at to go to if everything goes tits up in Pittsburgh?
Colorado is the first one that comes to mind. Because I don't know why, but Colorado.
I don't know why, but that's where I want to play.
I'm just going to go there. I just think Colorado, and then obviously Vegas is always in on people that are superstars. LA, but Edmonton you could throw in there, but you have a place. So here's the issue: everyone's tight against the cap. The Rangers, even though it's a they've been going at it for years with each other. The problem. Even Toronto, if he'd go there. But the problem you have is wherever he moves to, if you do move a player of that caliber, you're going to have to take 1 or 2 really good roster players off for 2 reasons. First of all, they're going to want them. And second of all, if Pittsburgh doesn't want to hold any money, then you are going to have to get some money off your books. And at 8.7, it's not near as tough to do as it is at 10.5 or high 9s, right? Like, I mean, that it's hard to believe, but he's it's still a lot of
10's
money. But
10's
10,
four. 10's probably 4 players.
well, if you think about it, if you want to trade him away for a really good defenseman and a top six forward, and then a bunch of draft picks, say it's probably more than that. Your top, your one of your top defensemen is going to be making between 5 and probably 7. So say 5 or 6, say 6, somewhere in there, 5 or 6, and then your top forward's probably making, or a good forward's going to probably make around 4 to 5,
Right.
maybe 6. So there's 8.7 coming to you and close to 10 going out, right? Unless you are so tight that they need to hold some money, then
Uh-huh.
the draft picks, you're going to be giving them first round draft picks forever.
Do you think he's like, hey, if I do get traded, this is what you need to get for me?
I don't know. He doesn't strike me as that kind of guy. He strikes me as the kind of guy that's like, I'm all in and pit. Like this guy,
Let's just play.
you asked like Buskey played in Pittsburgh. Guys that played in Pittsburgh, a lot of their alumni guys stick around. Like it's not a place they play. It reminds me of St. Louis. A lot of the play, and Detroit's another one. You know, these guys play their career there and then they stay there. So Pittsburgh, he just seems to me like he's part of that community. He's, I mean, I don't think he thinks like that. I think he just thinks, okay, we got this behind us. Let's go. Like he's thinking about tomorrow or whatever they're asking him to do today. If he's handing out more tickets, and then he's going out, he's got one speed, right? It's like on or off. I don't think he spends a lot of time worrying about the rest of it. But I mean, I think he's thinking Team Canada, 4 nations is what he's thinking. But to start with, he's thinking we got to get the Penguins back to relevancy.
He's pretty excited about the Nass Valley tournament coming up this year.
The Nass.
The Nass. All right, who's your shout outs?
You know what? I'm going to shout out. Saw a bunch of folks. Wife's dad, Wally Leong. We had a celebration of life last weekend, and I had a shout out to Hastings Park in Vancouver because Wally loved the horses, and they had the Wally Leong Memorial Race last weekend. And,
no way.
Yeah, and so
that's awesome.
Patty and Richard and Dave and Terry. I'm just throwing the names out there. And all the family members in Vancouver were down there. Lori was there. And so I'm just throwing names out. They never listen to this anyways. They'll never know I said their names, but
they'll never know I got their names wrong.
Yeah. And hey, you know who else I'm going to shout out?
Who?
I'm going to shout out Leah Lum because I saw Leah. Remember? Leah. We kept threatening everybody. Leah's coming on. I talked to her at the Celebration of Life. She says she's going to come on as soon. She's just getting settled for the season. We'll go from there.
People will say anything at a Celebration of Life.
I know. I think after a while she was trying to figure out where I was because she's like, I got to stay away from Jeff so he doesn't bug me anymore. But I just said to her, I said, we want you to come on, just like we tell everybody, say what you want, and if you don't like what you said, we can always retract it. We don't need to.
We get rid of it. We don't
let
let
Ian say all the
trouble.
stuff that is risky.
So. Ian gets risky. My shout out is to the guy that puts this together every week, Brian Almy. I will be seeing him this week on Friday night. Thursday, I'm in Ottawa. Friday, I'm in Toronto. Saturday, I'm in Montreal. Sunday in Halifax. If you listen to this and you're in any of those cities, come see me. Looking forward to seeing some people. And I think I'm going to see Jim Ralph and his kid, Jesse Ralph. So that'll be awesome.
Just remember, he's tough to beat. Top left.
Top left.
Hey, Rachel and Steph are coming to see you in Toronto. So
no way.
I hope, they sent a text to you, but you blew them off. So I hope you charge Brian top dollar for your tickets because he's so good to us.
You know what he did? He bought tickets. I'm like, hey, Brian, how many tickets do you need? He bought tickets. I'm just like, Brian, fuck, I've got one superpower, and that is to give people tickets. And you just blew it off. You just like, so I'm Superman, and you didn't want to go for a ride, being able to have me fly you around. Good. I was annoyed. I was like, are you serious? I'm like, all right. Anyways, love to all.